it does grip you. Oh, there's a lot of gripping on the first page. I am so freaking excited to get into today's video. If you are new to my channel, I just want to say hello, welcome. I'm so excited to be here with you. If you are a returning subscriber or a returning watcher, hello, thank you for being here. Last video, I gave you guys 6 recommendations to start your spice journey, to start your smut journey. Because for me, reading smut has really helped with SA wounds and just healing in general. Today, we're gonna talk about dark romance, and I'm gonna start this video off by saying, check the trigger warnings for every book. They may not be for you, okay? Make sure you check trigger warnings. These books are not necessarily for someone who is just beginning their healing journey from SA or who are just starting out their smut journey. I worked up to this level of spice and dark romance in general. In another video, I will be sharing how I worked up to this, but for today, we're talking dark romance. There are a lot of trigger warnings in these books. Some of these books are not gonna be for you. Some of them are gonna be for you. So, listen to today's videos, listen to the recommendations, listen to what I have to say, but ultimately do your own research as well, because I don't want you to get into one of these books and be re-triggered from past experiences or have a bad time reading these. These are just the books that I recommend from a dark romance perspective. When we're in our cozy era, these are the books that I recommend if you are a dark romance person and you enjoy intense spice, because these are intense. And I'm actually going to go from the least spicy to the most spicy from my perspective. Now, what I'm gonna tell you is every single one of these books is hella spicy. So the lightest dark romance to the darkest dark romance. I don't even know how to explain this. I'm judging this off of a dark romance spice level. So this is not just regular romance. This is not rom-com romance. This is dark smut. Dark spice, intense spice, lots of trigger warnings. The first book is a series. I think that there are currently 4 books in the series. I've read all 4 of them, and there's a 5th one coming out. Plated Prisoner series. This is the first book. It's called Guild. I adore this book series. This was one of the first dark romance books that I ever read, and I really didn't know that it was considered dark romance, and it might not be, but to me it is. When I first started this, I was not prepared, okay? The spice in these books, chef's kiss, so fucking good. And it starts first page. The first page of this book, you are in a sex scene, and it is intense. There's a lot of group activities in this book series, a lot of group scenes, and it's really good. It'll make you so sweaty the first page. It's so good. Highly recommend this one. There is a lot of trigger warnings for this one, so make sure you check those out. Basically, it's about this girl who is stuck in this gilded cage. She is this prized possession. Her whole life is spent in this gilded cage. You learn about her journey. She does a lot of healing. There's a lot of spice. There's so much plot to this series that it was not expected. A lot of times with romance, you'll find that there's usually really good plot or really good spice. And there are some really talented authors out there who can do both, and it's just fucking phenomenal. This is one of them. There is spice, there is plot, there's a lot of really nice world building in this book. I really, really enjoyed this book series. Guild by Raven Kennedy, 10 out of 10 recommend. I would say the spice level for this is probably an 8. I would say an 8 out of 10. Right? Are we doing 1 out of 5 or are we doing 10? I think I did 1 out of 5 last time. We're going from 1 to 10 for our spice level. This is definitely an 8, I would say, for sure. The Myth of King Midas, reimagined, shows the dark side of greed through the eyes of the woman he gold touched. This compelling adult fantasy series is an addictive and it is unexpected. With romance, intrigue, and danger, the gilded world of Araya will grip you from the very first page. It does grip you. Oh, there's a lot of gripping on the first page. Yeah, there is. So this is essentially a King Midas retelling, and it's so fucking good. And it's so unpredictable. The next recommendation that we have, I don't know about this lineup, y'all. Hooked by Emily McIntyre. I always say McKintry. I love these books. Basically, this is a retelling of Hook from Peter Pan. I love all of her books because the bad guy gets his own POV. You get to see where he's coming from. They usually end up with kind of a happy ending in a way. So I really like this. And the way that she does the relationships in her books, so there's Hooked, there's Scarred. I really loved Scarred. It's on my shelf back there. Wretched and Twisted. And she just had another one, Crossed, come out, which I have read. So this book series, it's the Never After series. I loved this retelling of Hook, and it really made me think of the character on Once Upon a Time, the guy who plays Hook in that show series, because he wore makeup and he was like grungy and he was handsome and he just looked mysterious, and that is honestly who I pictured in this book as the main character. So it was good to have a visual, if you know what I'm saying. Oh no. I'm gonna say an 8 too. An 8. And you know, like with these two, the spice is not like super dark spice. It's not super dark, I don't think. If you guys have never read smut and you've never read spice, don't read these, okay? Don't let these be your first experience. The next book that we have is Neon Gods by Katie Robert. This is one of my all-time favorite books, one of my all-time favorite book series. Actually, there's another one of this series in the pile that I have for you guys today with the recommendations, but Neon Gods is so good. It's a Hades and Persephone retelling. This Hades character, I don't know about you, but like watching, this is so bad to say on freaking, I was gonna say on TV, I'm not on TV, Rach. Reel it all back, girl. This is so bad to say like on YouTube in a public thing, but I always was intrigued by Hades in the Hercules movie as a kid. Like, he was bad, he was wicked, two thumbs way, way up. Like, he just intrigued me, and this book, oh God, I loved this retelling of Hades and Persephone. And the world building in this book is so good. It sucks you in like instantly. A modern retelling of Hades and Persephone's that's as sinful as it is sweet. He was supposed to be a myth, but from the moment I crossed the river Styx and fell under his dark spell, he was, quite simply, mine. That just gave me chills. Again, check the trigger warnings for this book. I love this book. There was a lot of like dom and submissive type of things, like BDSM. So definitely read this book if you're into that, because you will love this book and this series. Spice level, I would say 8.5 out of 10. Wicked Beauty. This is also in the Dark Olympus series. This is the first one in the Dark Olympics series. This is the third one. All of the Dark Olympics, wow, that would be interesting. I need a moment. All of the Dark Olympics books. Did I say that right? Dark Olympus. Why am I struggling with that word? All of the books in the Dark Olympus series are super, super good, but it just so happens that the first one and the third one are my absolute faves so far. She does have another one coming out. I love this one. Now, this is reverse harem, a lot of poly relationships in it. I love it. I love it. This is about Zeus's sister, Helen, and she is one of the 13 in this world, and she is super, super strong, super powerful. She goes up to compete. She's a fucking badass, and her lovers and her love interests in this book, they are so hot. Like, I'm obsessed, and there's two of them. I don't know if I should say that. I don't want to give away, but her love interests in this book are just sexy. Just read it. It's good. Wicked Beauty. It's a story about 3. There's 3 of them. There's 2 men, 1 girl. I love it. I'm obsessed. So good. Wicked Beauty. Read that one. Spice level. I would say this one is probably like a 9. I don't know. This is so hard to judge. The next one is Priest by Sierra Simone. I'm sure if you're on TikTok or BookTok, Bookstagram, BookTube, whatever book world you are in or book community you're in, I'm sure you've heard of this book. It is about a priest, and it is massively spicy. I mean, so spicy. And I have a friend who is like deconditioning from religious trauma. Basically, this book was a really good read for her while she was deconditioning from the church. It's about a priest. There's a lot of confessionals that happen. It is so fucking spicy. It is so good. I love this book. On a dark romance scale, this is a hard one to say because honestly, from like a morals perspective, it's pretty dark because most of us are taught that, like, you know, religion, you can't have your cake and eat it too, and they definitely do in this book. But I will say that compared to the rest of these books, it's probably like a 7.5. It's a really good read though, and I read it super, super quick. Forgive us for our sins. And I read that one like last year, so I don't remember a lot of the plot. There's one specific scene that I remember that will live rent-free in my head for the rest of my life, but I don't remember too much of it. I just know the basics of, like, he is a priest. He's kind of going back and forth in his mind about what he wants and who he wants to be, and he's going through some like attraction to this woman that he meets and really having to work through his mind and the subconscious programming he's received from the church telling him it's not okay to have desires. So it was really good. It was a really good, spicy book. The plot was really good. And also it was really interesting to see the main character go through this like personal self-development and kind of decondition from these subconscious belief systems and subconscious programs. So nerding out on my mindset stuff, but that book was really good. This one, if you've read this one, don't come for me in the comments, okay? But the reason why I am sharing this book recommendation is because I read this book like 2 or 3 years ago at this point, and I still think of it. Like, it still is kind of perplexing to me. And it's not really in a bad way or a good way. It's just kind of more of a neutral experience. I feel like everyone should give this book a shot. However, I'm gonna say definitely check the trigger warnings on this book because there were some weird familial things happening in this book. If you have went through trauma when it comes to like familial relationships and stuff like that, I would not say to read this book. But I'm getting off on a tangent, but the biggest thing that I want to say with this next book is definitely check the trigger warnings, like 1,000,000%, because this could be very, very dysregulating for some people. So check the trigger warning. Now, to shake off that serious note, this book is Credence by Penelope Douglas. If you are on TikTok, if you are in the book community, you have heard about this book. The chances of you actually reading this book, I'm not sure. I read this book. I really actually like Penelope Douglas's books. Personally, I think they're pretty good. There's not a lot of like deep plot, but there is a lot of spice, and it's very intriguing spice for me personally. Credence is a one-of-a-kind book. That's what I will say. You're reading it and you're wondering, should I like this? And you're asking yourself the question internally of like, I'm confused. I don't know if it's okay to enjoy this. I don't know if this is morally wrong. I'm unsure. I just don't know. And it kind of just left me like that. Like, I don't know if this is okay or not. And I'm gonna read the back of this one because I feel like my synopsis is very confusing, but I guess that's just a reflection of how I feel after reading this book. Very confused. I flew through this book, let me tell you. I definitely flew through this. It was a very interesting read. Definitely suggest, if you're not going to be triggered by the trigger warnings in this book, definitely read this, but it is very interesting. And also, if you end up reading this or you have read this, let me know in the comments how you felt about this book, because I'm still kind of perplexed, razzled, and confused about my response to this book. Tiernan de Haas doesn't care about anything anymore. The only child of a film producer and his starlet wife, she's grown up with wealth and privilege, but not love or guidance. Shipped off to boarding schools from an early age, it was still impossible to escape the loneliness and carve out a life of her own. The shadow of her parents' fame followed her everywhere. And when they suddenly passed away, she knows she should be devastated. But has anything really changed? She's always been alone, hasn't she? Jake Vonderberg. I'm gonna try that again. Jake Vonderberg, her father's stepbrother. That's where we're getting into the little, like, is this morally okay? Father's stepbrother. So I mean, technically it's okay. It's just a little weird, right? I don't know. I don't know. Her father's stepbrother and her only living relative assumes guardianship of Tiernan, who is still 2 months shy of 18, sent to live with him and his 2 sons, Noah and Caleb. I'm like a little schoolgirl giggling. Oh my god. In the mountains of Colorado, Tiernan soon learned that these men now have a say in what she chooses. I can't even talk because that's how razzle-dazzled my mouth is. Okay, we're not gonna say that on a dark smut video. Oh, oh no. I don't know how to act. I don't know how to act at all right now. Okay. Tiernan soon learns that these men now have a say in what she chooses to care and not care about anymore. As the 3 of them take her under their wing, teach her to work and survive in the remote woods far away from the rest of the world, she slowly finds her place among them. And as a part of them, I feel like I'm blushing. And she also realizes that lines blur and rules become easy to break when no one else is watching. One of them has her, the other one wants her. But he's going to keep her.
Yeah.
What?
There's a lot of dominance with like a brat, you know, type of, if you don't know what I'm talking about in the BDSM world, just ignore this part. Just ignore this segment of the video. But there's a lot of like dominant male energy with her being like a brat in this book and then being punished, which I'm into. Like, that is one of my favorite tropes. So I feel like you should at least give it a try because it's so weird and it'll stay with you forever and it'll live rent-free in your head forever. And maybe, you know, maybe that's not something you want. You know, light bulb moment. Maybe that's not something you want, but it was a good read. It's interesting. It's a really good conversation starter too, if you know someone who has read this. Kind of sticks with you the same way that Verity by Colleen Hoover sticks with you. Verity is not like dark romance at all, but the way that that book, it's a psychological thriller, and the way that that book has stayed with me is very similar to the way that Credence has stayed with me, and my mind is just like, what? But am I allowed to be invested in this? It's her dad's stepbrother. So, I don't know. Anyways, moving on. So, this video is making me all spicy. The fact that I have an entire week dedicated to reading only dark romance and vlogging it all on my YouTube channel, this week that's happening. So I may need to book an extra therapy session, but I'm gonna have some fun. And the books that I ordered for this dark romance week are intense. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. You know what? You might as well like this video and subscribe to my channel right now because I know you're having fun and I know you want to see how I'm doing after 7 days of reading only dark romance. So make sure you subscribe, you like this video, and also comment below if you've read any of these books or what you think about any of these. The next book on our list is one of my favorite series of all time. I actually connected with someone on Instagram. We followed each other on Threads and she recommended this book series. This book series is called the Salacious Players Book Club. Salacious Players Club, and it's a series written by Sarah Kate. I was recommended this book like 2 weeks ago. I read the first one and then I read the entire series in 4 days. And the first book is called Praise by Sarah Kate. One of my favorite books. And the title says it all, praise. Also, the dedication of this book is absolutely like the best. It says, for all the good girls. Stop, Rachel, settle down. You're okay, you're okay. The Salacious Players Club is a series about these best friends who end up opening a sex club together. If you have read any of these books, please let me know in the comment section because I want to talk all things books with you. I want to know what you think. I want to know if you end up reading any of these books. Please come back to this video and comment below because I need someone to talk with me about these books. I know you've seen all over Book Talk. I know you've seen it all over BookTube. You've probably seen it all over your For You page. Haunting Adeline. Now, I'm gonna be so honest with you. Make sure you check the trigger warnings for this book. Seriously. On a very serious note, check the fucking trigger warnings of this book before you even get into this. I downloaded this book on my Kindle about like 7 months ago. My husband was out of town a lot. I tried reading this book and I got really scared. I don't fuck with ghosts. Like, that's one thing that, like, I do not fuck with. I believe in them. I do not mess with like scary movies when it comes to possession or anything like that. I do not even watch that shit because I feel the energy of that so easily. I tried to read this and the first couple of pages scared me. And I don't know if they scared me because of what I heard on TikTok that I thought the book was about, but basically it freaked me out. So I decided I couldn't read it. But then one day, my Wi-Fi was out and I already had this book in my Kindle library. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna try it again. And I heard a bunch of people talking about it. So I went ahead and tried it. And I actually really like this book. Really like this book. The plot is very, very thick in this book. That's not an innuendo, but also... No, we can't say things like that. Whew, take a breath. Okay. There's just so much going on in this book. The main character, Zaid. First off, Zaid Daddy. Oh my god. One of my favorite male characters in the book multiverse. I was gonna say bookiverse. No, book multiverse. We're just gonna go with that. One of my favorite male main characters. He kind of gives me Asriel vibes from ACOTAR. And I don't know if anyone else feels that or if that's like the vibe is just vibing with them or the shadows. I don't know, but they just kind of give me the same energy. Basically, he finds this woman that he cannot keep his mind off of, cannot keep his eyes off of, and he kind of starts stalking her a little bit. This is a stalking trope. Is that what it would be called? I don't know. I was into it and I was like, should I be into this? But also it's consensual in a way because I am not a girly who's like into not consensual relationships in books or just in general. I heard a lot of people freaking out about this book, but it was consensual. The main character really liked him, but she was just fighting with her own mind about whether she should like him or not. So that's kind of where it comes to play. A lot going on in this book, super fucking hot. Love this main character. Zeta's just hottie biscotti. I'll read a little bit off the back. The manipulator. I can manipulate the emotions of anyone who lets me. I will make you hurt, make you cry, make you laugh and sigh, but my words don't affect him, especially not when I plead for him to leave. He's always there watching and waiting, and I can never look away. Not when I want him to come closer. Chilly willies. The shadow. I didn't mean to fall in love, but now that I have, I can't stay away. I'm mesmerized by her smile, by her eyes, and the way she moves. I'll keep watching and waiting until I can make her mine. And once she is, I'll never let her go. Not even when she begs me to. This book is so good. Definitely suggest, but again, remember to check the trigger warnings, my friend. What I will say about the second book. The second book in this series is called Hunting Adeline. And I'm just gonna tell you right now, I am really not the girly who will not read a book based off of the trigger warnings. I did read the second book all the way through. What I can tell you is, as a person who has survived SA, the second book was extremely heavy for me. There was a lot that happened in the second book, and I would say if the first one is something that triggers you a lot, do not read the second one. It was heavy. If you're okay with the first one and you really enjoyed it, I have seen a lot of people that really enjoyed the second book of Hunting Adeline. It was not my favorite. It was actually pretty triggering for me personally. And I got through it, and at the end I was happy that I read it, but also like I could have gone my whole life without reading that. The first one I loved. I adored it. Would read it a million more times. Would recommend it to a lot of people. Second one, make sure you check the trigger warnings and be aware because it was very heavy. Anyways, that's enough seriousness, right? Just shake off the seriousness. Shake off. Shake off. Hunting Adeline is by H.D. Carlton, and the spice level of this one I would say is a 9.5. I don't know if I've been telling you the spice level for all of the other ones. Praise is like, I think I said like a 9. 9.5. I would say Praised by Sarah Kay is a 9.5. Haunting Adeline is a 9.5. I would say, yeah. Yeah, I would say. I don't know. Please give me a drum roll. I don't know why, but I just reminded myself of Schmidt from New Girl. And if you like New Girl, he's my favorite character. I love him. The last book that I have for you in this dark romance recommendation is my absolute favorite dark romance book thus far, which says a lot. I just read this book last week. I devoured it. It took me a day to read this book, and there were moments during reading this book where I thought my eyes were going to bulge out of my head because I was just like, Miss Ma'am, what? What, H.D. Carlton? What, girl? Like, you just wrote that scene, and I'm getting chilly willies just talking about it on this YouTube video, much less reading it, my lord. It was so good. The last book that we have is Does It Hurt? This is also by H.D. Carlton. This book, I'm telling you, will just leave you speechless. It will leave you fucking speechless. There is one scene in this book, and I'm telling you what, when I was reading it, I was like, gulping. I was gulping. And I was like, I don't know if I should like this, but I really like this. But also, this is fucking dangerous. This is really dangerous. I'm worried for her life, but also, like, I'm into this. She's into this. He's into this. They all into it. We all just having a little party over here. It was so good. Please read this book. The ending of this book, I will think of for the rest of my life. This is very similar to the energy, again, of Verity from Colleen Hoover, where you are constantly thinking about that book. At least I am. This is the same. Like, the things that happened in this book, whoa, wowza, what the fuck? Like, there is just an array of emotions that went through me. She did phenomenal on this book. There is plot, there is spice, the spicy scenes are A1 chef's kiss. My God, this woman deserves an award for the spicy scenes, good lord. And the plot and the way that the story ends is just so fucking magnificent. This book is so good. It is a 10. I would say the spice in this book is a 10. Like, it was a 10. It was a 10 out of 10 out of 10. Holy shit, it was a 10. But this book is also like a psychological thriller. So, dark romance, psychological thriller. There's some serious fucked upness in the end of this book where you're just like left like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Like, you are just, huh? It was crazy. It is crazy. I love this book. Okay, I'm gonna read the back. Who am I? I've forgotten the answer to that question long ago, ever since I ran from that house so desperate to escape. I left with only the clothes on my back and socks on my feet. After that day, I've only ever walked in stolen shoes. Could I be a girl who is searching for the meaning of life in faceless men? They were all so forgettable until he came along. He took me under a waterfall and made me forget my name, and in return, I took his instead. Enzo Vitale, a man that will only ever love the deep... I'm stuttering. It's got me stuttering. A man that will only ever love the deep sea, or rather the predators that inhabit it. Turns out he's not so different than the monsters he feeds. He lured me onto his boat like a fish in the ocean, seeking vengeance for my crime. Had I realized his intentions and that a massive storm would leave us shipwrecked, I would have run. Now I'm a girl who's seeking refuge in a decrepit lighthouse with a man who loathes me almost as much as he craves me. He wants to hurt me, but the old caretaker of the abandoned island may have intentions far more sinister. It's no longer a question of who I am, but rather, will I survive? This book is so good. Like, just reading the back of that, it takes me back. So many good tropes. There's a one bed trope, which was really good, which normally I'm like, oh God, there's one bed at the inn. They're gonna But in this book, it was really, really good. And then also the man, the old caretaker in this lighthouse, and the lighthouse and the way, man, I can't even explain it enough for you, but this book is so good. If you're a dark romance girly, if you like smut, if you like spice, and you haven't read this book yet, please read this book. It is absolutely probably my favorite of the year. My favorite book I've read all of 2023. It is going to go down in one of my favorite books of all time. So good. Psychological thriller. The smut was fucking killer. The storyline was insane. The ending was insane. The psychological thriller I'm still thinking about to this day. I mean, this book is a 10 out of 10. I would say I give this book 10 stars, and also it's a 10 spice level out of 10 because it is spicy, but it's so good. Oh, I'm just thinking about one of the scenes, like, girl, that book, that scene. I suddenly have an inkling to swim with sharks. Not really. Those are the book recommendations that I have for you guys for dark romance. I'm going to be coming out with more videos, and I had a request come through where I do one book review on a video at a time. So I will be creating some of those as well. If you have recommendations, or there are dark romance or fantasy romance, any books really that you've read that you think I would really love to read, drop that in the comments. I will order it and I will give you a review of my thoughts on that specific book. Also, this week I am vlogging myself for 7 entire days reading only dark romance. And I'm going to share with you my interpretation and what I think. So if you want to see what it looks like for me to spend 7 days reading only dark romance and giving you the tea on each one of those books, make sure that you come back next week to check that video out. Hope you guys have the best day ever. Thanks for joining me for this dark romance recommendation. If you've read any of these books, don't forget to comment below and let me know. Also, like and subscribe to my channel so that we can hang out more, because this is so much fun. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. My hands. Oh my God, what is happening? The next one is Priest. Yoo-hoo!